So I just woke up a couple of minutes ago, and what I wanted to do is share a nightmare that I had. And these social nightmares happen pretty frequently for me. And so, in this particular case, um, there was I guess, a gathering or something. It had to do with friends of friends from university. And I don't think that they ever, well, I'm fairly sure they never liked me as a person, but they merely tolerated me due to my close friendship with other people that are in the group. And so in this instance, someone had to pick up me and my friend from the mall. Remember, this is a dream, this isn't real life, so I'm just trying to remember what had happened in it as I speak. Trying to pick up me and my friend from the mall. And they get there, and so my friend goes outside ahead of time. Uh, and I go to pick up a few more things and then go to the car. And so I get there, and like, I assume that my friend, they know that I'm coming, but they seem to be having a good time until I get to the car. And then it kind of becomes quiet once I get there. And my friend tries to, like, liven things up, but it doesn't really happen. We get to a place I would have, like, a place I would hang out prior to a party. And it's like a restaurant or something for some reason. Maybe owned by one of the other people's parents. And these aren't, in my dream, these aren't people that actually exists, but I kind of feel like I know who they represent, or like the archetype that they represent. But yeah, it's like one of the parents' restaurants that's owned by one of the people, the adult children. So we're at the restaurant while waiting to go to a party, and I feel ignored, so I just kind of spend a lot of time alone. Like, I'm physically there, but I'm just alone. And at this point, like, my friend that everyone respects for whatever reason wasn't in the my dream anymore. I don't know why. And and so I'm just kind of getting ignored. They then moved to a different part of the restaurant. No, they moved to it was going to be like a house party or something. They moved to the house party. Man, I just need to animate this so that it's easier to explain. They all go to a house party, which is for some reason attached to the restaurant. I don't know how to explain that. And the house is really nice, and I'm there, but they moved to it without telling me. I think the mom sees me. I mean, we're all adult children, but I think the mom sees me and tells me that they all moved over there. And I think she can tell that I'm being ignored and felt bad for me. They all move there, and then I have a friend, one that's willing to speak to me. Not a friend, but like a friend of the friend that's willing to speak to me. And I don't know, she's willing to hang out a little bit. I think she also feels bad. She can also kind of see what's happening, but isn't willing to stick her neck out to the larger group to, I guess, stick up for me. I suggest that I want to go swimming in the pool or something like that. And then so, she said she'd be willing to go also. And so I figured it would happen. Like, so I get changed, and then I go to the larger group, and she's with the larger group, and they're all just like animatedly talking. And then I go to the group and I say, hey, I'm gonna get in the pool. Does anyone want to go? And they all just kind of ignore me. And I think that hurt. In my dream, I could feel quite a bit of pain. I don't really know, thinking back, what I did wrong in that dream. And um, those that dream never actually, like, the events in that dream never actually happened. But events extremely similar to that dream have happened like 1,000 times throughout my life. And then so I go leave the larger, like, living room where they're all talking animatedly. No one acknowledged me, not even my friend who said that, she would want to go to the pool. And then, like, uh, I step out, like, dumbfounded, like, why did no one even talk to me? Like, actually pretty angry, but I think I tried to hide it from my face while I was in front of them. But I was definitely angry and hurt in my dream. A few minutes later, so I'm just like sitting there, like dumbfounded, like, what did I possibly do wrong? So a few minutes later in my dream, like, I'm just sitting there, like, outside of, like, the room. She steps out, and then she's like, hey, I'm sorry no one wanted to go for it. And then she walks away. So it's like she understands, but she's not willing to stick up for me in front of her group. And I've I've come across this type of person a lot. People that are willing to like me a little bit, or can understand, or maybe see a little bit how I feel, but they're not willing to stick up for me. I do have friends that are willing to stick up for me, but usually in that case, the people that do stick up for me, people will only tolerate me due to respect for this person. Um, and then after that, I go into a utility closet somewhere out of view. Like, I remember there was like a water heater in here and like a mop bucket, and I just get dressed, and then that's the last thing I remember from that dream. And then that was probably like 10-15 minutes ago. These, what I call social nightmares, they happen to me pretty frequently, and I don't know if it's an autism thing, and I don't know if it's, for lack of a better word, PTSD thing. I know it wouldn't meet the actual definition, technically, of PTSD. I do have actual PTSD, but completely unrelated to social stuff. And I'm not going to talk about that right now. But I think maybe the actual PTSD thing, I'm not going to go into any specifics, but I definitely have significantly more nightmares about the social stuff than the actual quote real PTSD. And that suggests to me how much more, I'm not going to say more pain, it's a different type of pain, but one that's intentionally or not intentionally, it's just about not caring about me as a human, or merely tolerating me, or kind of like an unwanted stray dog that's there, that's people just try to ignore. And there's many times in my past where people have overtly said that they don't want me there and to leave. But there's also times when it's a lot more, not subtle. I wouldn't say that's subtle either, but it's just less overt, and that's what happens mostly in my dreams. I think a more socially savvy person, let's just say that I magically had the skill of conversation and like not being, I guess, weird or whatever. And then was good at rallying people. And so maybe I could have gone in there and said, hey, I'm gonna go in the pool. Does anyone want to come with me? And then if I got no response, I'd be like, hey, come on. Like, it's fun or something. Only without, I know I just had like a micro expression just then where it's like, it was a tell where I could even show that I'm offended or something. This is actually why my entire life I've just wanted to wear like a physical mask, like Halloween is coming up. And this is a bad example of a mask, but I just wanted to wear a mask like this so it doesn't show the I guess the micro expressions or the autistic, I guess, eye movements and stuff like that. And I wish something like that would have been socially acceptable, because then I could hide some of like the emotional like pain and stuff that I get. Because like what I've noticed about most neurotypical people is that if you show that you're in pain, if you show that you've been hurt somehow, if they sense any weakness, it's almost like predator animals or whatever. It's like they don't want to help you. They don't want to, for the most part, they don't want to help you. They actually want to get away from you if you seem weak. Now, I do think that there's a performative aspect to saying that you want to help people that are weak and downtrodden and stuff. But a lot of times that's just performative. And there are real people that do actually try to help the weak and downtrodden and stuff. But I'd say they're very rare. And I'd say they feel emotions really deeply, despite being, well, not despite being neurotypical, but even as a neurotypical. I can't remember the exact term. They're called empaths, maybe. And so I think those people are pretty rare. But I try not to share too much about my true life story with them, because I know that they can feel pain vicariously. And there's no sense in harming or having someone who actually cares about you, that's willing to listen to you, feel emotional pain on your behalf. So anyway, yeah, I could have tried to, in this situation, in my dream, I could have tried to be more of an outgoing person, not show any pain, things like that. That might have worked. But, and I know these things, and sometimes I try to do it. It's almost always an act. And I think people probably pick up on it. And that's why, like, oftentimes I'll say that I understand social situations. I understand what's going on. I often understand why it's happening. I understand why I'm excluded. And I understand what to do to remedy it. But I can't make myself do the remedy. It's, for some reason, too difficult. And I can see in my head very clearly how someone would remedy it. And sometimes I try, and sometimes it helps. More recently, since I've been out of university, I think that things are better because I'm able to apply many of these things, generally proactively, but it doesn't work 100% of the time for me. And more perceptive people might be like, oh, he's weird. People who are perceptive but they don't think about it just kind of distance themselves. And so knowing the solution and being unable to do it, often it's its own form of hell. Knowing what a socially savvy person would do and being unable to emulate that, or when you try to emulate it, people see through it, that's its own form of hell. But I think given enough time, I could massage my way towards more of being that person. But here's one of the things that suck about me, and I assume many others like me, and this is probably relatable to people with autism and ADHD that have self-esteem issues, is that seemingly for every positive change that you can get yourself to do, it's going to take years. And so your years of life are counting down, and that's why I always say, like, I'm going to need at least 3 lifetimes, like, to live at least 200 years to get close, and this is without mental degradation or anything, to get close to being the person that I'd want to be. We live in a social world, and if my entire existence had been living in the woods with a dog that never dies and I was unaware of the larger social world, I'd probably be relatively content, or the closest form of happiness. I feel like oftentimes the solution for me is to find a plot of land in the most rural part of the world and hope to never see another human again. But I already know too much about the world, and there's no way for me to probably be happy knowing that the rest of the world exists and that they've rejected me. And me leaving the world would be, or like me leaving the social world at least, would be akin to someone that has been underperforming at work and then they get fired, and then that person being like, you can't fire me because I quit. And so, like, it's one of those things where it's like you already know what it's like. And so even if you make the conscious decision to go live by yourself, it would be choosing to live by yourself, which is a decision, but choosing to live by yourself due to a lack of options. When your only two options are to continue living in the world that rejects you, the social world, or living by yourself, kinda willfully, but also kind of against your will due to a lack of options. With Otter Raft, I'm going to try to open up a third way and to make it that finding community of people that like you, maybe that aren't necessarily exactly like you, but are more open to accepting you, exists. And we're not going to be closed to neurotypical people, for sure, because we live in a neurotypical world. But it is designed with neurodivergent people in mind. My entire life I've been trying to shoehorn myself into the neurotypical world of people who, even given their best intentions, will probably reject me. And I don't have the social savvy to make it so that they like me somehow. Some people are just automatically liked by most people, I believe, and I try to be objective when I say this, but I believe that most people I meet either dislike me or don't care. And I've tried to check myself for biases. I try to be as objective about it as possible. I know about self-fulfilling prophecies and such. Every social situation I enter with, I guess, a little bit more knowledge than I had before, and generally I tend to do a little bit better than I had before. But these changes are slow. One thing that, so with Otter Raft, one thing that we're trying to do is that just because someone has autism, that doesn't mean we're going to like each other. Just because someone has a similar background to me doesn't mean that we're going to automatically like each other. Personality differences and communication differences will still exist within, quote, neurodiverse relationships, whether it be friendships or romantic or anything like that. All those things still exist. But what Otter Raft provides is at least some people that can understand. If someone has never been exposed to autism, or people that have like ADHD or other forms of neurodivergence, like even if they wanted to, they might not. They just don't know how to communicate with it, and they might not see that sometimes the effort is worth it. With the show called Better Call Saul, I've watched Breaking Bad. I'm currently in the 5th season of Better Call Saul. I did not like season 1. And so actually I don't really like Saul Goodman because he reminds me too much of myself, actually. So I honestly don't even think I would like myself if I met myself. But anyway, the reason why I'm talking about the show is I didn't like season 1, and I tried to watch it several years ago. I didn't like it, and I stopped at season 1. More recently, friends have told me about how good Better Call Saul is, and so I tried watching it again, starting again from season 1. And I'm glad that I did, because it's one of the best shows I've ever watched. I mean, they can completely destroy it. I think there's one or two more seasons left, but so far, it's really, really good. And maybe I can liken that to at least myself. I can't speak to everyone with autism or other forms of neurodivergence. And just to reiterate, this isn't an autism only app. Um, but I think people who are willing to wait a little bit, that have the patience and communication style to see past a lot of the rough edges. I think a lot of times there's a world of depth that they can uncover by speaking to some of us. And once again, everyone with autism is different, just like every neurotypical person is different. You might still have a bad personality, even being neurodivergent. But people that are willing to take the time, willing to listen, willing to have that communication style, they might find someone that is worth talking to, and that might end up in a romantic relationship, or it might end up being a good business partner, or it might end up being a close friend. My close friends that exist that have met me since I've become an adult, they became friends with me despite knowing my autism, despite knowing my weird eye movements or like my odd speech patterns, despite me being extremely socially awkward. They had the patience, the willingness to listen, and I think that, at least for my friends, for the people that like me and value me, I'm hoping that it was worth it to them. And I think they think it was worth it to them. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's interacting with people that they found mutually beneficial relationships, that their lives are made significantly better by knowing each other. I know I'm not the only one. And because of that, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to close off our app to neurotypical people. Because some neurotypical people, maybe my close friends, they may be willing to give people that speak differently, people that are neurodivergent, they might be willing to give them a try. And they might see the value of sticking around past season 1. And yeah, this all started with a nightmare that I was just sharing. So thank you for listening.